snapped my wrist exactly 3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna tell you a story of how it happened, how I fell, and how I went from a completely useless wrist that hurt every single time I moved it to being able to take off this little protector and move my wrist. Welcome to the channel. My name is Tigran. Obviously you see the name right here. And today I'm going to share with you exactly how I broke my wrist. This is the very first bone I've ever broken in my entire life. I've been doing some mountain biking, skateboarding, snowboarding, and I've fallen pretty hard snowboarding. Actually broke something when I fell snowboarding, but nothing. This time, I did nothing crazy. I just fell off a truck. Here it is, the scene of the crime. I'm gonna explain to you how it happened, what I did, how I broke. So, what did I do? I was helping my guy tie something at Home Depot. And he was up there, he was tying something. He needed me to go tie something here. And so I climbed up on the truck. I got up here. Be careful not to hit your head. I got here, climbed up this way, went all the way over here. I helped him tie this. So I tied it. It was good, it was recovered. Now it's time to get down. So instead of like a normal person, I decided to be a little monkey and decided to go down this way. As you can see, this is very tall, and that was a stupid decision on my part, and I urge everyone to go the way they came. So I got here, and I was hanging like this. The plan is to slide your feet down, and then you just let go of your hands, right? So this is what I did. So I slid my feet down, and you see right here, this is the culprit. When I slid my feet down, the bottom of my shoe got caught on this little nub and my foot got stuck. So my brain was telling me, your feet are already at the ground, because they should be, okay? When I let go with my hands, I fell backwards like this. My first reflex was to put your wrist out to catch it. I hit my wrist goes like this. I hyperextended it, and the next thing to hit was my elbow, and my elbow hit hard. It was like boom! Luckily, that was the one that took all the hit, because if it was the back of my head, I probably wouldn't be standing here the way I am today. Okay, this is how I remember. So I was here and I was like, oh. I look at my elbow and I'm like, damn, a little bit of blood. And I got up, brushed myself off, and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, okay. Touched my head, I'm like, all right, nothing happened. We're good. And I'm still in a little bit of shock, because in my mind, I'm thinking, dude, I don't think I've ever fallen that hard. I fell pretty hard. So I walked over here, and then a few minutes later, my wrist, it just felt sore. And to me, I thought, oh, I probably just sprained my wrist. So now that we're here, and we're looking at the truck, I really want to find out from what height I fell. Because in my mind, I was like 4 feet, 3 feet, but looking at it now, it's more than 3-4 feet. So I have my tape measure. We're just gonna measure this, because I'm very curious. So right off the bat, we know 5 feet. So I fell 5 feet onto my wrist. 5 feet might not seem like a lot, okay? But that is a very long way to fall on your little, skinny, tiny wrist. So now that you see exactly how I fell and what a stupid error I made, the entire day I went out, I went to the job site, I talked to my employees, I was looking up YouTube videos of, dude, I think I sprained my wrist, what can I do? And some guy was showing some exercises, and then I did some exercises. It was very painful, and then out of nowhere, it was starting to get swollen. One of the YouTube guys, he said, you don't know if you broke your wrist or if you sprained your wrist. What you need is an x-ray. And I'm like, nah, dude, there's no way. I've fallen crazier than what I just did. I'm like, there's no way I broke a bone. So I go home. Of course, I see my mom, and my mom's like, what happened? I'm like, I fell. And she's like, how? I told her, and she's like, you idiot, you probably broke your wrist. I'm like, no, Mom, come on. Don't be such a pessimist. I didn't break my wrist, I'm good. She's like, get in the car, we're going to the hospital. Go to the hospital, the emergency room. We spent an hour and a half waiting, and 3 hours later, they took the x-ray, and this is the picture that came up. Obviously, you see cracked in half. And that little bone, I learned, is called a scaphoid. It's a very small, tiny bone. Now it's clear, I'm out of denial that I actually broke a bone. I started doing some research on what it actually is. So that little tiny bone has the least amount of blood supply. It's a very small bone to break. It has a very small artery going to it. And if you crack it in half, most of the times the artery is gonna be out of line. And the reason I made this video is because not a lot of people actually posted their experience of how they broke the bone. So after the emergency room, they gave me a list of orthopedic surgeons that they recommended that I go see for a consultation. And they also prescribed me ibuprofen 600, and they gave me 30 pills of Vicodin. I go 3 days later to see the orthopedic surgeon, and I walk into his office, and it was an office and it had files everywhere, like these paper files. And it was from like the 1970s, very old. I was like, what the heck? And it was this older guy, and he told me the same thing. It's a very small bone to break, very low blood supply, not a good bone to break. And the healing time, he said, was gonna be around 20 weeks. And this guy told me he's gonna have me in a cast from here to here for about 12 weeks. And then he's gonna put me in a half cast from here to here for another 8. And I'm like, okay, but is it gonna heal? And he said, it's not a guarantee. I'm like, what do you mean it's not a guarantee? In order for a bone to heal, you need blood supply. So that was the issue I was left with. I'm like, man, dude, it's not a guarantee. But what about surgery? He said surgery is about 90%, almost a guarantee that it'll heal. We go to another doctor, always get a second opinion, and we walk in, and I went to Stanford. Stanford is a very big medical facility in California. Very, very nice. I walk in, everything is brand new, all computers, technology, and the x-ray machine was digital. The x-ray machine at the other guy was film, like from literally the 70s, 80s. And then here comes my doctor. His name was Robin Kamal from Stanford Medical in Redwood City. This guy, awesome, very fast. He knew exactly what to say. And he told me straight up, he's like, you should let this heal by itself. And I'm like, let it heal by itself? I'm like, okay. First he told me, you don't need surgery. I'm like, all right, cool. And then he said, you should let it heal by itself, that you'll heal fine. You're young, you don't smoke, you don't drink, it'll heal. And I said, all right, cool. Then I asked him the most important question, how long is that gonna take? And he said 4 to 5 months. And I'm like, yo, I don't wanna be in a cast for 20 weeks. I'm like, well, what would you do if you broke your scaphoid? And he's like, I get surgery tomorrow. I said, all right, let's do surgery. So I opted out for the surgery option because I don't wanna wait 20 weeks. After I left, I had to go get a COVID test, tested negative, of course. Went to the hospital the next day at 6 in the morning, and the whole process started. I had a nerve block done because they put you to sleep. Yo, just woke up. They put me to sleep at 8:20, and then I woke up at 11. I don't remember going to sleep. I wake up 5 or 6 hours later, boom, I can't feel my arm, and there's this big thing wrapped around my wrist. I could not move my fingers. So right after the hospital, we stop at the pharmacy, and I get the prescription, they give it to me, I go home. I was really suspect of why they said I needed to take the Oxy, because number one, you saw in the video, that was taken at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I could not feel my arm. I couldn't feel anything. So I'm like, why would I take the Oxy if I still can't feel my arm? Next day comes around, and I wake up in the morning, and I could feel my fingers, I can move my fingers. Now, what was the pain level like on day 2? I could finally feel my fingers. It was still very numb, but the pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was like maybe a 3. Third day, no pain. Fourth day, no pain. Bearable. They prescribed me 15 oxys. I still have 15 oxys. Here's a picture after, when the screw is inside the bone. When you break a bone, it's called non-union because the bones are apart. When the bones are together, we have union. 15 days after surgery. Even the doctor said, you're healing very nicely, very good. She's like, we can take off the splint and we're gonna put on a custom splint. And this is what this is. This is a custom splint. And she said, now you're able to take this off and shower. And I'm like, really? That was one of the biggest things with the other one. I had to wrap a bag around every time I showered. And that was a pain in the butt. So she said, now you can take this off and you can shower with it. And I was like, wow, that is absolutely fantastic. That was like probably one of the happiest things ever. And now I can take it off. And the first thing I did, I got home and I took a big scrubby pad and I just scrubbed. It was like the best feeling ever, so itchy. And now, this is what it looks like. You see that? And now, this is what the wrist looks like. This is the incision right here. There's a little bump right here. See, my wrist is definitely still more swollen than this one, and I can pick up stuff like this. I could not do this when I broke it. There's no way. Pretty soon, I'll be able to get back to normal, and I'll be doing handstands, backflips, and all that good stuff. Now you have to make a decision. Do you get surgery or not? I gave you my experience. I would definitely do it again if I had the chance. Thank you for watching. like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you ever broke a bone in your life. Did you ever break your wrist? Did you ever break your knee? Did you ever break your elbow, your shoulder? Wish me well. I'm gonna heal fast, I already know it. And with that being said, we're gonna close out the video. Peace.